This video is an introduction to using interactive notebooks in maths and science. An interactive notebook, such as this example I have here, is a way of organising information and note-taking in a subject such as maths or science. Basically what it is we take an ordinary exercise book. This is just a blank exercise book, nothing special about it, and could have different pages, page format, but just a basic A4 exercise book. And then we arrange it in a certain way to make it what I'm going to call an interactive notebook. So this is an example of an interactive notebook for advanced maths. On the front we have a cover page, which is just a personal thing to identify the book, but maybe a little bit about the subject as well, to give it a bit of character and a bit of ownership. Inside the book we then have specific pages with specific things on them. One of the really important things about the interactive notebook is that we number the pages. You can see that the first page, the inside front cover, is 0, and then the next page is 1, then turning over we go to page 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on, all the way through the rest of the book. This page numbering is really important because it allows us to find and organise information, so we know that a certain thing is going to be on page 5, or that a certain thing is going to be on page 2. The other thing about the page numbering is that we're always going to have our even numbers on the left hand side and our odd numbers on the right hand side. Now let's talk a little bit about the different pages that we have. The first page, page 0, is what we call Gems of Wisdom. This is a page where you collect useful pieces of information that you might want to refer back to really easily. So I've given an example there, Pythagoras' theorem, pretty handy. So that's our page 0. Whenever you think of something really important, you might write it on there. For now at least, let's just write the heading, Gems of Wisdom. The next page, page 1, is our table of contents. This is where we keep track of what we have in the book. Whenever you add more information to the book, you need to update the table of contents. Here we can see I've got a partially complete table of contents here, and I'm dividing it up. On the left hand side I've got the left pages, on the right hand side I've got the right pages. Gems of Wisdom is page 0, table of contents is page 1, score sheet is page 2, the scoring rubric is page 3, and so on. As I keep adding more, I would keep filling out this page. Makes it really easy to find things and keep track of what we have in our notebook. The next page is page 2, where we keep track of our progress, basically. I've called it the score sheet page. At the top of the page, the top half basically, is where we're keeping track of scoring of the notebook. Now the notebook is scored using this scoring rubric here on page 3. It's a 5-point rubric, and here are the descriptions of what you have to do to get the different scores from 1 all the way up to 5. What will happen is when your teacher directs you on a certain date, you'll assess certain pages yourself and your teacher will assess them and you'll get a total score. And you'll do this throughout the course of the subject. The second thing on the score sheet is a place for a general record of assessments. So the date, the name of the task, which might be a test on linear relations, for example, the score that you've got, and then a reflection, what you can learn from that test or what you can take from it. So that's page 2 and really page 3. Moving on to pages 4 and 5. These two pages are in the book just to give examples of how the rest of the book is going to be arranged. From here on, from this part of the book onwards, we're going to have this special structure where the left hand side is called output and the right hand side is called input. Starting with the input, it makes sense that might go first. The input is basically what you need to learn. So on these pages, on all the right hand sides, all these odd numbered pages, you're going to create content that is about what you need to learn. Now this could be a vocabulary or a glossary, it could be readings, it could be examples of how to do something, it could be Cornell notes that you've taken, it could be procedures that you follow. So this is where we collect our input, the things that we need to learn. On the left hand side, that's where we do our output. So the output is the processing, the interacting, the doing, the learning, the actual understanding. This is where you develop your understanding of what is on this side of the page. Lots of different things could go on the output. Examples include brainstorming, concept maps, graphic organisers, maybe where you're solving mathematical problems, for example, in maths, illustrations, and the list goes on. Heaps of different things could be on this output side. This part is really important because this is where you do the learning of the content that is over here. So that's the basic structure that we're then going to use for the rest of the book. I've got a couple of example pages to just go a bit further through this book. So this could be a couple of pages for the start of a topic. Now we often start a topic with just a heading page and coming back through the topic to add more to this as a bit of a way of summarising the important things in the topic. For the moment I've just put a heading there. This next page, remember this is one of our input pages, is set aside for the glossary. So on this page, throughout the topic, you'll keep adding to a glossary of the important words and what they mean. Because in maths and science, the words that we use are really, really important. Continuing over to another couple of examples of what a page may look like, but an incomplete one. This could be a pair of pages of notes on a particular topic. This page here, page 9, our input, I've ruled up in Cornell Notes format. So I've put a line across the top and I've put a line down the side. As part of this, I've also put the topic name and the topic date. And over here I've written our essential question for this lesson here. Here I've got some partially complete notes. So on this side, you might be making some notes from a video or from a book or from something that you've done. Some notes that explain the theory. Maybe there would be some examples here. This page is incomplete, but at the bottom, you would have some form of summary. That's an important part of Cornell Notes. Some sort of summary of this whole aspect of theory. Down the side is another part of Cornell Notes which you would use for forming questions that relate to this content. So in this section you would write questions like, how do I simplify an expression with algebraic terms in it? Or how do I cancel common factors? They might be the questions that can be answered by this content. So this is our input, our note-taking, our theory on this side of the page. On page 8 over here, on our output side, is where you could be doing various things to learn how to do this. Now, in this example here, I've got the start, and it's incomplete, of answering a few questions. So here is a question on simplifying, which you might have been asked to do, and I've done the question, and then I've also checked the answer. So I've written a little tick there to show that I did get the answer right. And then so on down the page. With this side of the page, your working is as important, if not more important, than your answer. So always leave the working. If you make a mistake, just cross it out so you can still learn from that mistake later. Don't hide what you're doing. Show as much as you can of your working. So that's a brief introduction to using interactive notebooks. Hopefully it's given you somewhere to start from, and there'll be lots more to learn along the way.